Good morning. Happy Friday. Sorry. Happy Friday. Welcome to Rise and Thrive. Sorry about the delay there. My name is Zachariah Julian on USLA Radio. It's an absolute pleasure to see you. I have a very amazing and special guest today. Upper Skagit tribal member Peter Boom is an attorney, mediator, and artist who has lived and worked in Indian country for over 40 years. He works as a public defender in drug deferment court and conducts mediations and facilitations throughout the Indian country. Peter earned his BA and MES from the Evergreen State College and his JD from the University of Washington School of Law. In addition to practicing law, Peter has been teaching a number of courses as an adjunct professor for the last several years. Peter teaches courses under the topics of law, business, environmental studies, cultural studies, art, and political studies. Peter owns and operates his own business based on his award-winning, internationally renowned Coast Salish art. Peter's work is collected throughout the world, and he is a regular at many prestigious juried art markets and events throughout the country. His work has been shown in institutions such as the National Museum of the American Indian, both in New York and Washington, D.C., the Heard Museum in Phoenix, the Edelgeorg Museum in Indianapolis, the Autry Museum in Los Angeles, the Burke Museum, and the Washington State History Museum, where his work is part of the permanent collection. Peter's work is carried by many galleries and art distributors throughout the world. Welcome, Peter. Wow, that is a resume, my friend. It's
took a long time to build up. Right?
it's always amazing, and it's awesome as a Native American meeting somebody with such a resume as yours. I mean, you must intimidate some people. That's impressive.
I don't know about that. Well, maybe if I'm being rough on somebody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Time to time.
That's amazing. That's so cool, dude. How are you? Happy Friday. Sorry about the delay there.
Oh, good morning. I'm well. I would have been worried if we started on time.
That's true. Yes. Especially as artists, like that doesn't exist.
Right.
Where are you at in the country?
I'm in Tacoma, Washington. I'm in my home studio.
That's so cool. So let's just jump right into it since we're kind of running late here. May I ask, like, how did you start? Why did you pick art?
I don't know if that a person actually picks art. I think art picks you. It's one of those deals where I can't imagine not being an artist.
Yeah,
I can't imagine it. I know I've tried to have the desk job, the sit in the cubicle, and it just doesn't work for me. Yeah. I think that absolutely, it's one of those things that creativity comes out. If I wasn't a visual artist, I'd probably be a musician if I would have had that kind of background. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to draw so bad. Like I'm atrocious at it. I do well with paintings, but drawing is horrible. But music was my thing. And I think especially during COVID, having a lot of time to myself, I realized music was always there throughout my life. And that's why I asked you, like, why art? And you said something prolific there, because did it pick you? Or like right now, I'm kind of in the middle of, like, I think we kind of found each other and realized we can talk to each other artistically. It's a great outlet. I mean, it use words that you can't use through speech through your art. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So how old were you when you got the bite?
Oh, I remember getting in trouble for drawing on the walls as a kid. I never thought of art as something that was different. I always thought of it as something that just people do. Growing up I grew up on the Northern Ute Reservation in Utah, and there were tons of artists, the people that were just really, really good at drawing. Or you looked at the notes of the other kids, and half of them were just drawings in the edges or whatever. So I never thought of it as like, oh my goodness, this is something that's different. I think probably more to the point of the question, when I start doing it professionally, I started in 2003 is when I really started hitting it hard. I was transitioning. I'd been working in casinos for about 10 years, and I was going back to school, and had to figure out a way to replace that income. And I had just stacks of paintings and was drawing and stuff. And my father-in-law's cousin, I know that's a weird way of introducing somebody, but
No, not at
the
all.
way it works. My father-in-law's cousin is Andy Peterson. He's a really well-known Salish artist, and he had just started doing print work in his studio. So I took a stack of probably 30 or so paintings to Andy, and I said, "Hey, would you be interested in printing these?" And he goes, "No, I'm not going to print them. You come over to the studio and print them yourself."
Wow.
And it was probably the best gift anybody could have ever given to me. So I did my first 4 prints at his place, and then our schedules never worked out because he's an early morning guy and I am not.
Yeah.
And we're both busy and working and whatnot. And so I took those kind of the proceeds from those first 4 and said, I've got to really do this myself, and sunk our life savings into printing equipment. Had a shed built in the backyard, and said, okay, we're going to pay ourselves back, and hopefully within 2 years. 4 months later, we paid ourselves back. So
wow.
It just took off. As soon as I started printing, it was when everything really just took off.
Yeah, artists like yourself too, who realize the importance of putting many eggs in many different baskets, like the education that you're standing upon. Like, was that something that just kept driving you? Was the art always with you as you were doing this?
It's odd because like I said, I was going back to school, and it was a transition from careers. I had been working in casinos for a long time. And my kids were starting to grow up. I was working evenings and weekends and holidays and birthdays, and I was missing out on this family that I was supposed to be providing for and supporting. And I wasn't being part of their journey. So I really had to figure something else out. And education was the only way to do that. Mm-hmm. I had trained 5 of my bosses.
Wow.
And I couldn't get those jobs because I didn't meet the educational requirement.
That's crazy. Wow.
And it drove me crazy. Yeah, there was one time when I actually our heads were a commission, and I went to the commission. I said, I really want this job, and they were like, no, you don't meet the educational requirement. Then they hired somebody who met the educational requirement but had no experience, and then the chairman came and asked me to train them.
Oh my gosh.
So it was an eye-opening experience that said, I am in the wrong profession. Yeah. I need to make some changes. So I went to school, talked to my wife, but school doesn't pay well, being a student. And we, I had a family to have to take care of and bills to pay. So that's where the art started. And ironically enough, the further along I got in the education, the more I was making financially as an artist. And I was growing and doing much better. But then by the time I graduated law school, which was at the height of the recession, the jobs I was being offered as a lawyer were less than what I was making as an artist.
Wow.
They was like, yeah, come work for this firm for 80 hours a week and make this much money. And I'm like, I can work 20 hours a week as an artist to make that much. So why do I want to do that? It's just one of those really kind of backwards, ironic things that happen. So right now I'm a half-time lawyer, half-time artist. I like to split my time evenly.
That must be good for your brain, just to kind of get you out of both offices.
It's good for the soul.
Give back what's given to you. That's always something. Give back more than you take is what usually I say. Very fortunate. That's amazing. I always tell one of my friends, well, I tell a lot of people, but I was having a discussion with one of my friends the other day. One of the greatest things that's ever happened to my music career is I got laid off, and they gave me a big severance check, and I went away, and I just really found myself. I realized I don't need this. Like I can do this. I know I can do this. So seeing somebody who's kind of gone through that same thing of like, the universe is literally going, this isn't for you, man. You need to go over there.
Oh, there have been so many failures along the way. And you look at it and you're like, oh, well, I'm glad that didn't work out. Later on, there were so many, I don't know how many times I was turned down for jobs and how many interviews I went to and how many times I absolutely failed. Just flat out failed, fell on my face.
Yeah.
But I'm really bad at quitting.
I'm
I'm really,
stubborn too.
I'm really bad at giving up. I'm really bad at. I think it comes from a certain lack of respect for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like nobody's any better or worse than me.
Yeah.
We're all just people. So
Exactly. It's amazing how that people forget that. It's just like, hey, think about it. We're on this rock in the middle of nowhere in this thing that's grander than we could ever imagine.
well, it's like Public Enemy said, "Don't believe the hype." Right? Yeah. Or as you were talking earlier, I keep thinking of these song lyrics. I'm that kind of guy.
Oh, no, do it.
Yeah, no, Public Enemy said, "Don't believe the hype." You have Garth Brooks. It was like unanswered prayers. Some of the greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. It's absolutely true. Yeah.
My friend, I think you're a musician. You just you need your instrument.
I just never learned how to play.
Oh
anything.
man, if you could pick an instrument, what would you play?
When I was younger, it was probably I would have liked to learn how to play piano.
Yeah.
Now it's guitar. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah, just guitar.
Yeah, I've been playing piano for 30 years, over 30 years now. It's a beautiful instrument. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I want to kind of get into your art. I was going over. I've always known your art, but they sent me an email with a bunch of selection, and it's hypnotizing. Like the way you approach art, it's startling. Like I just think about you walking in a gallery, there's art, and then you come across a piece like yours, and it's your pieces are the kind that make you want to stop and observe. Like,
thank you.
Was that always approach that you knew, or was that just something that was natural?
That's a good question. It's more natural. I knew that. Well, as a Coast Salish artist, one of the things I knew I didn't want to do was do static work. I didn't want to do things that looked posed. I'm really more interested in motion. Life is full of motion, so I know what boring art looks like, or what I find boring. And I just was never interested in that. I've always been interested in motion. And the other thing that I'm interested in is color.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I had a lot of people that were criticizing me for my color palette and my color choices, because Northwest art, historically, I'm not going to say traditionally, I'm going to say historically, was red and black when I first started out, with a little bit of white, little bit of yellow thrown in, maybe some blues here and there. But when I first started out, I was like the second generation of Coast Salish artists to help revive Coast Salish work. And so you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
But there, it's one of those deals. Dipsy Bob, he's a famous artist up in Canada, and he said you have to master tradition before you can innovate. Wow. And so I spent a long time. I don't like the term master, but I spent a long time feeling to get comfortable with the traditional art form before I started really exploring more with color choice and with blending and mixing stuff. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a powerful statement. I remember I grew up on the reservation, the Hickory Apache Reservation, northern New Mexico. And before I left, because I moved to Santa Fe for 5 years, my medicine man told me, you need to find your wild side again. And he said, life is full of circles. You're going to keep going, and you're going to end up back where you started. And it's like Lord of the Rings at the end. You're Sam and Frodo back in the Shire, realizing everything's changed and you can never see reality the same. So hearing that from another artist, that's pretty cool. Like, you have good teachers and good inspiration, man.
If you pay attention, there are teachers everywhere, and a lot of times they're younger than you.
Yeah,
they're as long as you're paying attention, that's the difference. That you see a lot of folks that just don't pay attention in life. They lose track of the here and now. And we all get to that point and stage where we get too busy, or we're just too complacent, maybe. But life is beautiful, and there is so much beauty in the struggle. Even when things are difficult and hard, there's still beauty that surround us. And my life has not been easy, but by any means. but I've found that beauty in the struggle. I think that um,
Keeps you
one of
going.
my yeah, it's just like, that's cool. Let's look at this. And
Yeah.
then curiosity is the other thing. You have to be insatiably curious. You have to wonder about the world. This wonder is, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick little break here and we'll come back with Peter Boom. We're going to talk about art. We're going to show some of the art, hopefully, and we'll talk about it. Yes. Be right back on Rise and Thrive, USLA Radio. Welcome back to Rise and Thrive, USLA Radio. Zachariah Julian, amazing guest, amazing discussion. I love meeting artists like you who understand the struggle. It really defines your art. You see that in the color, the shape that you choose, and just the medium in general. I mean, that's wild stuff.
Hey man, you're no slouch yourself. Some of those sad songs you belt out, those heartbreak, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's I learned. I'm good at emotion with music. Like eventually you kind of start, I'm sure you experience this too, where you start understanding your style more because it starts speaking louder through you. And you're just like, oh, I should listen to this and really tap into that. Like, was there a piece that spoke to you like that? That where you knew you were on a rhythm?
Yeah, there's a couple pieces. I don't think that you have access to them. There's one that's called Kindred Spirits that was a aha moment for me, where I was able to blend different things together, and I was like, that's how I do that. Yeah, I don't have to reference another artist to see how they mix this shape or they do that.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then I've got another piece that was fairly recent, I guess 5 years or so. Within the last 5 years, it's called Thunderchild. That was another piece of mine that it's our creation story about how the first people came to Earth from the heavens. It came down on lightning and falling stars. And so I incorporated that entire story into one image.
Wow.
And I was pretty thrilled with that one just because its use of color and the way that it came together. I was pretty happy with it.
That's so cool. All right, I'm going to pull up some of your art here. Hopefully I got this right. Producer, please let me know if you can see this. Can you see this? No? Okay, give me a sec. Oh, here we go. Yes. Let me pull these up here. What is the name of this piece here?
All right. What are we looking at? The elk necklace?
That's the elk necklace. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is. That's a pandemic piece.
Wow.
I'd seen a couple of around the way at a couple of potlatches. I'd seen some guys with elk antler necklaces, and they were always it's a cool idea, but the execution wasn't quite where I had hoped it would be.
Yeah.
And it was something I had been thinking about for a while. So I thought, you know what, let's do a mini mask. Let's do this. Yeah. Let's add elk antlers to it. And that was a spike elk. So it's the entire antler minus the tip. Yeah.
Wow. How long did that take you? If you don't mind me asking.
That one is really hard to gauge, honestly, because the mask itself I carved during Zoom meetings. I have to have something to do with my hands. So, a lot of times it's like, okay, I need something going on. And that one happened during meetings, and it was online court. And so, if I'm not actually speaking, then I'm sitting here carving and listening and whatnot. So it's hard to say. That one it took a couple of months of Zoom meetings.
Yeah, that's just beautiful, my friend. I'll move to the next one here. This one I really think captures your movement that you're talking about in your pieces. Just looking over the shoulder. What's the name of this piece?
Which one are we looking at here?
It's Breath of Life, I believe.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that one is another new piece. That one I
Or
Um,
over the
did-
mountains. Over the mountains. I'm sorry.
Over the mountains. Okay.
Yes.
That one is a brand new piece. So I painted that. It was something I wanted to do a little bit more abstract. Um, I wanted to incorporate really strong Coast Salish design style,
Mhm.
but I wanted to do a different contemporary color palette and just try something different. I just wanted something that looked cool more than
Yeah.
anything. It's sometimes you just want to do something that looks good.
That's awesome. And I got the prayer rattle set here. What is that? What is it made of? Like, if you don't mind me asking, because I'm from the Southwest, so this is all new to me.
So those, they're two different rattles. They actually come out of those stands. They're
Yeah.
carved out of reclaimed yellow cedar, and when I say reclaimed, it was yellow cedar that came out of a building. So a building got torn down, and it was the lumber that they used to
Oh, wow.
make the building. And reclaimed wood is gorgeous and beautiful because it was in a building for 50 years
Yeah.
or longer, and so it was a lot better wood at that time. But it's also really brittle and chips easy, and it's hard to add moisture to it, and it's much harder to carve than fresh wood. So
I can imagine.
the rattles themselves and one of the stands are made out of reclaimed yellow cedar, and then the other stand is made out of cottonwood root.
Wow.
I wanted to try. I had never really played with cottonwood root before, and I wanted to try it. And it's like cheating. It's so fun to carve. It's so easy. It holds an undercut so well. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It's so smooth. I must have. Oh, I can't even imagine the hours, the days.
Those took some time. Yeah, those two.
Yeah. I got a mask here. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it slapu?
Slapu.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the basket woman. So that one it's a story up here about a big ogre who lives in the woods, and she goes around at night whistling, and she tries to lure children. She carries a big basket on her back, and she lures children, grabs them, throws them in the basket. Sometimes they escape, and if they don't, they get eaten. And traditionally, that mask is black. But for some reason in my brain, white is so much scarier than black.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the mask in white for the last few years. Not because I don't know any better. I know a lot better. But because for me it's a scarier image. It's more scary. So
it sticks to you, especially the eyes and the lips and just the softness of like the pastel against that white with the hair. It's gorgeous, man.
Yeah,
that's good. I got Sunshine as our next piece here.
That one is I'm not sure which one. I think that's that same one we looked at with the abstract. I can't see it, so I'm just.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's let's go to Through the Fire.
Yeah, that one is another piece that I designed actually right before the pandemic, and that one's about it's a hawk. Then it spreads its wings, and the pen feathers turn into other birds. And that one is about overcoming difficulties and being stronger as a result of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one where I wanted to try new techniques on the printing side.
Yeah.
As a printmaker, I'm always trying to push the boundaries of my own skill and my own knowledge because I do everything by hand. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that particular look. I was pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, that complementary colors, my friend. That spiral you got going there is just gorgeous. And I think we're done with those. All right, dude, your art. It's powerful stuff, man. It really is. It grabs you. I remember when I got the files. I've seen your stuff, your amazing art before, but seeing it here and actually really analyzing it. You're going to be in Santa Fe, right?
I am, yeah, for market. Yeah.
Good. I'm going to go check you out, man. That's just, you'll be a Foreman Concept, right?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I've got sent 5 paintings down there. They're
Yeah.
small ones. I wanted to send some carvings down, but I just didn't have them done in time.
Uh,
It was just like, I can't get it
yeah.
all done.
I'm at the point in my life where I wish there were two of me because I'm so spread thin. It's wild.
I used to push myself so hard,
uh,
but now I have a rule that as soon as my hands start shaking, it's time to go to bed.
That's a good rule. That's a very good rule. I need to follow your steps. Are you going to be up in Santa Fe or something? I mean, at the Form and Concept Gallery in Santa Fe?
I probably should. Yeah. I'll probably stop by. I don't know exactly when I'm leaving here for Santa Fe. If I'm going to leave, because it's a 2-day trip for me to drive down. So I don't know if I'm leaving on Tuesday night or Wednesday. So I'm not sure about my exit times yet.
That's so cool. Like, I hope I run into you. I think me and my dear opera friend Jenny will be performing there on the 13th, and then I'll be performing the 20th. So,
okay. So Friday and
next Friday, the Friday afterwards.
Yeah.
Right so on. I hope I run into you. If not, I'll keep my eye open in the plaza for you. Yeah, and just so you know, we are the Seeds. We're doing this amazing event at the Form and Concept in Santa Fe. It's a beautiful gallery. It's just a stunning place, and we'll be having a nice opening night on the 13th, and then the gallery runs until I spaced it out, like September, October, something like that. I forget the dates exactly. I should have them in front of me. But yeah, we're going to have amazing photography. Your art, your pieces are going to be there. And it's just a great time to be in Santa Fe because there's just art everywhere. And people are just, it's a nice, when I lived in Santa Fe for 5 years, it was like you could feel Santa Fe breathing during the month of August, especially for the native culture. It's amazing.
It's like nothing else.
Yeah,
it sure is. It's going to be interesting this year to see all the masked marauders come in.
Yeah, to be back as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I guess we'll take one quick small little break again, and then we'll come back and wrap up the interview here. This is Rise and Thrive, Zachariah Julian, USLA Radio.
Take me out one more time is all you said to me. I swore
Welcome back. This has been such a great discussion. It's so nice to meet you and have a voice and just to your personality and your art. It's unveiling part of you, even though I know there's a lot more to you. It's so cool.
We're just barely touching the surface of the sarcasm.
That's hilarious. One of the things to kind of looking at your art, I was talking about going in circles. My medicine man told me you always end up back where you started with this new kind of view on the world and yourself, seeing how you incorporate your culture into your pieces. It's something I've been learning recently as I've gone back to the beginning and starting over because I moved away from the reservation 20 years ago. I grew up on the Hickory Apache Reservation. It's been 21 years, and it's just the city Indian versus the res Indian, and just mushing them together and trying to find my identity through my art. And I'm finally getting to that point where it's 50-50 and they kind of bleed into each other. But I found my musical voice. But seeing your art and the way you incorporate your culture in that, and the way you're not afraid to break the rules or bend them, you're paving the way. And I think that's a very powerful statement as an artist. And I can imagine the flack you get for that, the traditionalists, I should say.
It's funny as I get more flack from urban Indians than I do reservation Indians, and the woke crowd, the crowd that's there. And I think that there are groups of people who are looking for something to be offended about.
Exactly.
They're angry about their own situation. It took me a long time to figure out that the criticism that I was receiving really had nothing to do with me or with the work itself, that it had everything to do with the person's, the viewer's internal understanding of things. And I did a thing with Nike 2014, so it was like 7 years ago, with their N7 line. And I had never been called so many names in my life. It was amazing to see and feel the anger that came from that. But that was only the 1 out of 10. The other 9 comments were super positive and really, really embracing. But it's really hard not to focus on that 1 out of 10. But I think that the other part of it is really knowing who you are as an individual, and being comfortable in your own skin. I'm light skinned. I know it. Nobody has to tell me you don't look Indian enough. I'm like, look, I know it. I've known it my whole life.
I get it all the time too. It's just like, yeah, you're an apple. I'm like, yeah,
right.
Whatever.
Like, how Indian are you? I was like, there's degrees. It's like a gradient. Then the lawyer in me comes out and goes, you're either enrolled or you're not. It's pretty simple. You're either. So there are different ways of looking at it, and the art is no different. I think for me though, with the art, really, I did this artist residency in New Zealand, and there was a Maori artist there, and he's an amazing friend of mine now, but really well known, really well respected, like probably one of the best carvers in the world. And I asked him, because we were talking about this 800-pound cultural gorilla that indigenous artists, we have to carry around all the time. We have this expectation of being something, and it's usually this external expectation. So I asked him about that, and he goes, and said something I probably shouldn't say. He goes, if it's made by a Maori for Maoris, it's Maori art. And it was that simple. It was really that simple. So if it's made by an indigenous person for indigenous people, it's indigenous art.
Yeah.
That's it. And it really, just something that simple took away so much pressure for me that was kind of self-imposed. It's this external expectation. It's like, wait a minute, these aren't my expectations. Why am I taking them on? Why am I carrying this baggage? If I just shed it and just be who I am and try to execute my vision, that should be good enough. And why should I place those expectations on others?
Yeah, exactly. You get it. It's amazing.
Why should I do that? And it's such a waste of energy and a waste of time and a waste of emotion on something that's trivial. We're all struggling. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to regain something that was taken from us historically or traditionally. Why make it harder?
Yeah.
And so once you embrace that, life becomes a lot easier. And then the criticism just rolls off your back. I don't even hear it anymore. And I think I'm old enough now where I have people coming to me and asking me, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, sure, I'll give you advice. No problem. If you ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. You might not like it, but I'll give you the answer. But I don't need to go out and yell at other artists and say, oh, you're doing things wrong. This is so ugly. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, there's enough negativity out there. We don't need that. It's amazing. Like my very first composition teacher at the University of New Mexico, he was a German. And it's that old saying of like, if you're an artist and you're not making somebody mad, and I'm quoting, you're not doing your job. You're just falling in line, and good luck. I mean, you'll get your shows, you'll get your gigs, but you'll fade. And he was absolutely right. And you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that same guy, he told me, he goes, why would I want to create pieces that are in the museum? The only difference between my art and the dusty art in the museum is the dust. If that's what I'm doing.
That's well said. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time here. Please let the audience know where they can find you. Where are you on the socials and the websites, the Googles?
Yeah, I'm on the interwebs. You could find me on the interwebs on Instagram and the Facebook and the Google. Peter Boom. I do have a website. It's araquin.com, ARAQUIN.com. You can actually buy stuff off of there. If you buy stuff now, I'll try to send it before I get to Santa Fe. If you buy stuff when I'm there, you're going to have to wait till I get home.
Yeah.
I am not Amazon. I'm not overnight shipping.
Yeah.
But no, and then just Google my name and there's tons of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got stuff in galleries. And if you have a gallery or museum that is nearby, I might not have stuff in it, but maybe I do.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's been such a delight talking to you and getting to meet you and hearing your voice. It's a nice meeting a soul like yourself who gets it and sees beyond the veil. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I know our conversations have been short in the past. Like, hey, when's your CD coming out? And that's about the extent of our conversation in the past. So it's nice to sit down.
It's drive-by greetings. Yeah,
it totally is. It's that pressure too. It's like, when's your next one coming out? No, I like your old stuff. When's your next piece coming out? Yeah. What else are you doing?
It's so cool, dude. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please, yeah.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, keep kicking butt, dude. Yeah, it's amazing art. Anyway, this is Zachariah Julian, Rise and Thrive on USLA Radio. And Peter Boom, an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Yes.
Thank you. Let's do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait to see you again.
Take care.
Take care, man.
Take me out one more time is all you said to me.